Hey folks, thanks for joining. I want to do a quick sound check. If we can go to the questions box and just let me know if you can hear me. If you can say, hey Nick, we can hear you, we can see you. Perfect, all right. Well, thank you folks for joining. We're not gonna get started for another 3 minutes. Just get started at 2:02, give people a few moments to jump on in, especially with GoToMeeting and all its changes. But we will give those a few minutes. Anyone here that has not been to an exclusive webinar before? I recognize a lot of the names, but if you are new to an exclusive webinar, please do introduce yourself to the group. Just with your name and what company are you dialing in from? The bit of a tradition that we have here. Yeah, I can see 1 to 2 people already in attendance that I don't recognize the name, so please say hello. Let's see who the first brave person is going to be to introduce themselves. And for all of you who just joined, a bunch of you just joined at this moment. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started at 2:02. Just letting everyone roll on in through GoToWebinar. And I'm asking the group if this is your first time at an exclusive webinar. We have a bit of a tradition. Just please introduce yourself. What's your name? What company are you dialing in from? About 5-10 of you that I can see already that are new here, so please do introduce yourselves, guys. Pretty much everyone who's been here before has introduced themselves. So, yeah, just the questions box, Rachel. So we got Brenda from Aging Choices, Lifestyle CX. Hi, Brenda. Thanks for joining. Folks, we just doubled in the number of attendees in the last 1 minute. So, got Ivy. Hey, Ivy. Nikki from Dr. Vita. Hi, Nikki. How are you? Shelly in Florida. Hello, Shelly. We have so much to cover today. And I've been doing these webinars for 14 years. I'm going to do something different today that I've not done ever in the past. I have a few slides where I'm going to ask people to just share their domain name. We do some live SEO analyses. So be prepared for that. When we get to those slides, if you think that particular analysis that we're covering would be applicable to you, then please share your domain at that time. It is 2:02. In the last 3 minutes, we have more than tripled the number of attendees here. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. We've got 78 slides to cover. We're going to cover a lot of content in the next 45 to 50 minutes, including some live demos. So I'm going to get right after it. Let me know if you guys can't hear me or anything, any problems. So 15 ways to grow your bottom line with SEO. So very quick about exclusive. We're a performance marketing agency, the oldest agency in e-com. We've been doing this for 25 years. We drive performance by doing 3 things really well. First, we have channel specialization, separate departments for every channel, separate employees for those departments. So our SEO team, for example, is just all career SEOs. With Google Ads, conversion, social, Amazon, email, SMS. The second thing we do really well is we have a team of strategists that coordinate across channel. And then we have a tech team that brings all the data from all these channels into one system so you can create really good reporting and attribution modeling and growth modeling. Here's a handful of our clients, just to get a sense of who trusts us. And to round out our intro, I'll introduce myself. My name is Nick Rajpal. I'm the VP of Marketing Sciences. I joined the company 14 years ago. I've done all of our webinars every 2 weeks for 14 years. and I developed all of our solutions. I was brought on, formerly the SEO manager for the world's largest poker site. So once I did poker SEO, which was really tough, I switched into e-com and helped develop our SEO programs in Google Ads, conversion testing, email, Amazon, developed our strategy team. And nowadays, I work with prospective clients and try to understand your business inside out, put together a good plan. If you like it, our team will take over your marketing. So that's my intro. So really quick, the premise of today's webinar was, wouldn't it be nice to essentially have SEO as a buffer, like we always need that evergreen buffer, especially when we're kind of concerned about the economy or cost per clicks are increasing, cost per acquisition is increasing. So I'm assuming that's why a lot of you joined. And to give yourself a little bit of room to be honest and give you a chance to hear from your peers, I'm just going to ask everyone to be honest here. Have you recently been seeing that cost per acquisitions, let's say through Google Ads, Facebook ads, or all channels really, whether those cost per acquisitions are increasing? And give everyone just a little bit of time here. Let's get at least 60% of the room to vote. We're almost there. So if you have not voted yet, please get your vote in. And we're right up, we're just passing that. So let's look at this. So 30% of you are actually not sure. 70% of you are yes. The 30% of you that are not sure, if you can project yourself into the proportionality of the other answers, yes and no, probability is that you also are seeing a higher cost per acquisition. It's really tough to run a business when your cost per acquisitions are increasing, and you don't have a buffer for that. Well, why are cost per acquisitions increasing? So there's a lot of reasons. It's easy to get focused on one thing, but here's some reasons. One, privacy changes are making it actually difficult for advertising to be tracked all the way down to purchase. And while automation is trying to connect the dots there, until we switch to purely privacy change centric ads like Performance Max, which is coming out in Google Ads, Google can't use all the data. Facebook can't use all the data. And it's really throwing off their algorithms. So it's causing mistakes and a higher cost per acquisition. But there's more brick and mortar activity. People can search on your website, but still they can buy it in person. There's a pullback in internet activity now that people can actually see each other face to face. They're not in the home as often. We don't have that year-over-year stimulus check that was helping us with Q2 of 2021 because the largest stimulus check was cut on the last 2 weeks of Q1 in 2021. Rent moratoriums, student loan moratoriums all come to ends pretty much. Gas prices are up. Gas companies have increased their profits year over year by 350% on average. So they're enjoying that. Inflation at the grocery mart is definitely up. And there's a lot of speculation of pending recession, typically pinned around a 70% chance of recession happening in 2024. So a lot of reasons why. But there's some things that we can do to counter CPAs. You know, try to get more from less. So less traffic, less customers. Email, SMS, conversion testing are all great things to invest in right now because they just pivot from a lot of activity to more sales. Try to get free when possible. So SEO is nice free traffic. Email and SMS off your past customers, almost free sales. And then ad type optimization. There's within each platform, whether it's Amazon, Facebook, or Google, there's been introduction of new ad types that are meant for today. And you have to transition off your old stuff into your new stuff. But we're going to focus on SEO. And first off, with a really high level premise of how SEO works, just in case you think it's all black box, it's really not. It's quite simple. So first, think about the core here. The core algorithm's job is to figure out what keywords a page is actually supposed to rank for. And then for all the keywords that it picks for your page, it assigns a score for each of those keywords. That's the entire job. And it creates a score with like observations. Those are measurements. Did I observe the keyword in the title tag? And then each of those observations has a weight. So there's 200 observations. In the beginning, in the 90s, when it was first created, it was just anchor text votes and the title and body text that were like studied. Now there's over 200 things that are studied, including H tags and site architecture and page speed. And the reason Google keeps pushing people to do some ubiquitous change in coding, for example, is so that they can start to introduce that as a meaningful signal. In the end, though, when you start looking at whether you can rank for a keyword or rank better for a keyword, you're only looking at about 3 different families of keywords. There's a lot of authority. It's like how Google sees your brand, what the crawl authority of the page is. Those points get added to the technical score of the page. And in general, that's what puts you in the top 10 pages of Google for a lot of keywords. Your page will rank for a lot of keywords because of those 2 things. It's the relevance family of optimization that pulls you up to the page 1 of Google. We'll get into a lot of that. We start breaking down 15 ways to basically boost SEO sales. Boost your SEO sales because your cost per acquisitions are increasing through paid ads. That's basically what we're going to talk about. And I thought it'd be easy to break this down into basically 4 different categories. First is relevance and content. Actually, the easiest place to start, but you need to know the rules. Then we're going to go into technical and crawl. It's a little more complex, but if at least you know what's going on, that could be helpful. Then we're going to talk about how to identify your historical biggest drops and how to triage that. That's very tactical. And I think it'd be helpful. I'm going to do some live demos on that. And then finally, let's just talk about markup. It's part of technical, but it's kind of expansive. So we'll start off with relevance and content. For starters, when you're writing content for your pages, since 2019, you no longer can just use high-level categorical keywords. And you can't assume that if you write brown cat in this part of your paragraph and cat stuck in the tree in a different part of your paragraph, that when someone types in brown cat stuck in tree, that you're going to rank. In fact, because BERT is bidirectional, BERT looks for what the subject of a keyword is, that'd be cat, and it's looking for brown cats that are stuck in trees using long tail phrases. You don't need to understand this. What you do need to take away from it is pages of content that use longer tail, more descriptive keywords in text are performing better since 2019 than pages that do not go that deep. And use this as kind of an introduction to the content concept. You do need content on your pages. The reason you want content is it's going to give you a lot of sales. You don't get clicks from Google unless you're on page 1. And content is what ensures that of all the keywords that you rank for, that about 25% of those keywords are on page 1 and not all on page 8, 9, and 10 of Google, where you're not going to get the clicks. Let's understand this a little bit. Nike.com. When you take out the term Nike from keywords, Nike ranks for 1.4 million keywords on pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to page 10 of Google. But on page 1 of Google, they rank for 223,000 keywords, which is roughly 16%. 16% of their keywords are on page 1. And this is an indicator that Nike writes content because it's really close to 25%. If it was more like 1% or 2%, it'd be very likely that when you went to the top navigational pages, those collection pages of category and brand, that there'd be no content on the page. Looking for a brave soul here to go ahead and share their domain name. And let's just do a live test. What percentage of your keywords are on page one? I'm sure some of you are curious. There's no shame. Everyone here thinks that they've got room for improvement on SEO. So let's get one lucky website. Just go to the questions box. We got our first one. A D says beckonicecream.com. Okay. So what we're going to do here is share the screen here. We're going to go to beckonicecream.com. Okay, I'm going to use an advanced filter here. I basically say I don't want any keywords that include the term Beck, because you're going to rank for your own domain name keywords, your trademark keywords. So you currently rank for 14 keywords out of 930. So it should be 25%, and currently you are at 1.2%. So what does that mean for your profitability if you invest in SEO content right now? You'll probably be able to increase your traffic and sales from SEO by a factor of about 23x. So simple. You can actually figure out how much money you can make on SEO just by doing that quick analysis. Wait, you're away at personallydelivered.com. We might get to those in the next test. But folks, this is why Nike, with all the strength that they have in authority and technical, they still write content. And I'm going to show you why their content's actually quite garbage. And that's why they only rank for 16% and not 25%. But we'll get into that. They still tried. And they wrote long tail keywords. They put them in here. And they're Nike. If they do it, everyone should be doing it. The third thing is preserve your keyword integrity when writing content. What that means is you have a page, it ranks for some keywords. You're going to rewrite that page. Don't forget to include the keywords you already rank for. We created a really cool API-based optimization process for this, so I'm just going to tout it real quick. What we do is we use SEMrush's API. We say we're going to rewrite page X. Here's the keywords we rank for. Here's the best ones. We're going to keep those. We immediately also pivot towards competitors and say, what keywords do our competitors rank for that are similar? Pull those in. Keep, add, combine. That's our keyword set. We get to optimize for a lot more keywords without losing any rankings. Anyone can do this. You just have to build Excel files to do it. We just created a real-time way to do it so that we can write lots of content for our clients all the time. We have 31 content writers. We produce about 4,000 pages of content per month. We don't want to do Excel file stuff. We want to do data science-based stuff. Make sure your content's always unique. So before 2008, what would happen is if you typed in a keyword and you went to Google, you might get like 5 really good results. And you might have found that you went from page to page to page, and the first page, the second page, the third page, they were all the same exact content. If you don't like the content the first time, you didn't like it the second or third time. And Google started to see this. Oh, why would we show the same content over and over again in the top stack? Well, the top stack comes from the primary index, and the rest comes from the supplemental index. So Carrie Grimes and her team at the indexation side of Google said, well, let's put only one instance of duplicate in the primary. Therefore, the top stack only has one instance of that duplicate, and the other duplicates get kicked into the supplemental. If there are 3 duplicates of content, that means your chance of being in a top position is 1 in 3. If there are 20 instances, it's 1 in 20. If there's only one instance, you have unique content, you always have a shot at the top. In 2009, when caffeine came out, and indexation happened much faster, if you had a probability of 1 in 3, you could be in Google's primary one day, out for 2 days, in 1 day, out for 2 days. It was happening much faster. Before that, it was happening once a month. Develop well-written content that is not noticeably optimized. That seems subjective. It's actually not. In 2011, a guy named Navneet Panda wrote an algorithm and said, what if I just graded content to figure out if there was good quality content based on the same parameters that an English professor would use to grade a paper? If all English professors can agree, then can I just put that into a code? That's Panda. It just looks for deep, comprehensive, well-written content. Since Panda came out, we just started writing everything according to the Associated Press style guide. And that's all it took. And we write content that an English professor would give us an A+ for, and Panda gives us great scores as well. But it's not just about writing deep, high quality, grammatically correct content. A year later, Penguin came out. And Penguin looks into your content for, whether you stuffed a bunch of keywords together in one sentence, or you use too many cross-links, or too many bold or strong tags, or you over-optimize for the same keyword. Any pattern that is like an SEO optimization technique. Well, if you did a technique in your content, Penguin will find the keywords in that technique. And those keywords may already have a good score. That score is going to be demoted. You have a lot of keywords that should have been on page 1, but because you use those techniques, those same keywords are on page 2, 3, or 4. That's why Nike's page doesn't rank that well, and that's why only 16% of their keywords are on page 1, not 25%. So quick content recap. Focus on long tail keywords. Mine the keywords that you currently rank for on a page before rewriting. Preserve, and then mine your competitors for more keywords. Make sure all pages have unique content, especially your top selling products and all your category pages. And write deep content that doesn't have clear SEO techniques. Let's move on to technical. So first, optimize for strong core vital scores. Core vital was released in 2020. And Google has done a lot to help out. So basically with core vital, you can go to this particular report and everyone's going to get a PDF copy of this. So you can just click on it once you get the PDF copy in the next 24, 48 hours. So just watch for that. You put your domain in, you get it approved and whatnot. And then Google will tell you basically how long it takes for the majority of the page to load. How long that's largest content paintful. Oh, look at largest content full paint. I don't know why they come up with these phrases. I really don't. It's ridiculous. The second is first input delay. For the first signal back from your website to Google, how long did that take? And then the third is after the page started to load with the largest content full paint, from that point to final load, how much did the page shift? Like if you know an image is going to come into a spot and you already preload a filler for that spot, then it's not going to shift. That's CLS. So you can get your core vital report. Google will tell you what to do. But there's also this really cool library of cheats that Google also gives you. If you want a carousel on your page, Google says, this is how you code a carousel if you want a really good core vital score. Just steal our code and use it. What fonts should you use? How should you do images, infinite scroll, etc.? You don't need to think about what Google is going to like. They tell you. Mobile is obviously important. So what you can do with SEMrush really easily is check how many keywords you rank for in the top 20. That's all they report on for mobile. How many keywords in the top 20 versus how many on the top 20 on desktop. I just toggle desktop to mobile. There's a lot of tools that can do this, but SEMrush is easy, So for example, for Nike, they rank for 223,000 keywords in the top 10 on desktop, but only 60,000 on mobile. They can actually make some improvements. It should be closer to 1-to-1 if I do, possible. So there's lots of reasons why. There was mobile get-in, which basically checks to make sure that your page loads properly on mobile. So basically responsive. There was an interstitials update, which basically if you have like a pop-up that's asking for an email address or something, if you coded that incorrectly, then you lose a lot of your mobile rankings. There's mobile speed, and there's an entire set of tools that you can run to check whether Google thinks you are deserving of their traffic. The Core Vitals also plays a role in mobile rankings. So there's a little bit of overlap there. And now, recently, Google released performance update. It was about March of this year. It's called Page Experience or Performance. And this is another one that you can run and see what Google thinks right now. But the main thing you're trying to do with Page Experience is for every page that a user's on, you want to kind of understand the subsequent pages that are most likely to be clicked. Let's say the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 most clicked from there. And you can tell Google to prefetch, or the browser to prefetch that document in anticipation that someone's going to click there. So if they do click there, it's already preloaded pretty much, and they just go instantly into that page. And in the Search Console, there's a page experience report that will kind of start to give you an idea of what changes you should make so you can do better with performance. It was rolled out to mobile a long time ago, but it just got rolled out to desktop. So a technical recap. Get serious about Core Vitals. It's a big part of ranking. Retrofit your mobile. If you have not been able to get a lot of momentum on mobile, it's time to go back and see what you missed over the last few years. And then start prioritizing performance. It's not heavily weighed yet, but it's going to be heavily weighed. Now let's talk about drops. Virtually every domain that I come across, I can look at the all-time history of that domain and find a couple periods of time usually where rankings went from here to cliff drop. And maybe you guys noticed it when it happened, but you kind of forgot and no one ever did anything about it. You lived in the month-over-month data and you forgot your peak performance. So it's really easy to find a peak drop. For Nike, for example, in February 2018, they dropped from 170,000 keywords on page 1 to 127. They never quite recovered. Doesn't seem like anyone on their team has gone back to try to figure it out. So I know Yourway and personallydelivery.com had submitted their domains earlier. We'll do a live test here, guys. Who wants to submit their domain name in the questions box, and I'll check out whether you've experienced a major drop. Yourway got in there. Okay. So we're going to go to yourway.com. Yes. Look at this. Top 10 rankings used to be 20,000. You had one drop here that took you from the 20,000 mark down to roughly 1,500. You were able to start recovering some of that. I assume you fixed some redirects, but not all of them. Got back up to 1,700. Another major change happened that precipitously dropped you down to less than 1,000. And you live in that territory now, which is 50% less than your peak. And I'm sure that we could triage that by looking at redirects that were messed up or template changes, which gets me to my next point. So typically when you see this, there aren't that many reasons why. So when you find your biggest drops, what you want to do is identify which pages had big drops. And that's just zeroing in on the month and keywords that were lost. And then what page. And what you want to start doing at that point is going into archive.org and looking at what page you used to have versus what you have now. So that big drop that Nike had, one of the pages that lost a lot was their Golden State Warriors page. And I just looked at what the page looked like before and after, and here's what it was. Before the drop, they had some content at the top and some content at the bottom, very over-optimized. But even when you're over-optimized, you get a lot of points and then there's a penalty correction. It's still better than no content at all. But for some reason, they created a new page, redirected the old to the new, and the new page had no content on it. So maybe they thought the search was better on the new page, but they didn't think content was important anymore, and they lost 25% of their rankings for their website. You also want to look for spikes in backlinks and investigate if there's any toxicity. So for example, for Nike, there was this period of time where sharp upturn, almost doubling their number of backlinks. Within a standard SEO contract worth of time, they had dropped. Do you think Google doesn't notice that? That it looks like you hired an SEO contractor to buy you backlinks and then you canceled it and lost those? And then once again, a year later, he spiked up to 4 times as much? Very easy to figure this out. SLM, skincare.com, loveisarose.com, ZWE Pets. Do any of you 3 want me to run this for your domain? I guess whoever writes first in the chat box. Yes, we got a yes for loveisarose.com. Let's check this out. So for loveisarose.com, I would postulate that this period of time seems unnatural. Where you kind of lived within a 5,000 backlink, very quickly you were up to 3 times as much, which wouldn't be bad over time if you didn't precipitously drop back down to 5,000 and then go back up. So this would probably be a good thing to triage. What rankings did you, links did you have? What did you lose? If you didn't buy those links and they are toxic, they're bad backlinks, maybe your competitor bought them for you. If they were good and you didn't buy them, then you lost them. It could be that someone who was pointing to you in earnest changed the template on their page and they forgot to preserve the backlink. So when you find what backlink you lost, you reach out to them and knock on the door and say, hey, you guys used to show us some love. Can you please put that backlink back? It's quite simple. But you got to figure that out. Okay, next, find backlinks that have lost their direct connection to your site and fix using redirects. Let me explain. There are, when a tool like SEMrush is looking at all these pages on the internet that point to your website, they'll say, we found a backlink to a page, and here's the anchor text that connects to the dots. Here's the page. Some of those pages might be broken pages, meaning, yes, a backlink exists to this page, but this page doesn't exist anymore. You deleted it and you didn't forward it to a new page. It's a 404 error right now. I ran this for Nike. found that about 150,000 pages that have a lot of backlinks to them were deleted and never redirected correctly by Nike. So they basically not only lost all those anchor text votes, they are frustrating Google. So, live demo time. Who's on the hot seat? Who wants to see if they have any such backlinks that they've accrued over time, but the recipient pages are no longer intact? Just share your domain name in the chat. And if not, I'm going to put someone on the spot who already asked. Okay, we got a new one here. nyssacare.com. Perfect. And thanks, Greg, for suggesting your way again. So, what do we have here? We've got a lot of pages, but okay. So see, some of these pages have situations where they're 404. This looks like a relatively newer website, so it hasn't gotten a lot of backlinks over time, but you have deleted pages. So let's see if this is still, yep. This page, for example, NYSSA pouch, has some meaning in the SEO world. It was deleted and it was not forwarded to a page that, a new page, whatever should be the right new recipient of that. Let's try UOA as well. Okay. So for UOA, we've got 1,800 pages that have some issue. Some of them are 403s. That just means you're not letting the spiders through. But then you do have some 404s. They look like these are sessions, not exactly pages. So let's look at this. So this page had 31 backlinks to it from 2 different domains. So it had some anchor text, meaningful backlinks. And this page has not been forwarded to a new recipient page. Awesome. So thank you guys for being live guinea pigs there, and hopefully this is helpful to see it in real time. So a recap on drops and triage. Isolate moments of page 1 drops or all keyword ranking drops. Figure out which pages did drop during those periods of time and compare them using archive.org. Identify and analyze sharp changes in backlinks, especially for toxicity, and use backlink reports to identify missing redirects. Okay, we have 3 more changes, and I'll take any questions you guys have. So number 13, make sure Google knows that the pages on your website, your collections pages and your product pages, where someone can actually buy products or find products, make sure you're telling Google that those are shopping pages. You do this through something called HTML markup. HTML markup, which is also called rich snippets, rich markup, HTML markup, schema.org, all the same thing, just synonyms of each other. For a category level page, you want to tell Google what the breadcrumbs of that page are. You want to talk a little bit about your website and your organization, and maybe you want to tell them how many items are on the page. If you have hundreds of products, don't show all the items. At the product level, once again, what are the breadcrumbs leading to this page? Who are you? Share data about the product. And if you can, show markup on reviews. That way, when your product page shows up in an SEO ranking, it'll say product in stock, how many reviews. It's a beautiful listing. And because it's a beautiful listing, Google wants to show a beautiful listing up at the top. So it's not only going to look better and get better click-through rate, your chance of being in the top goes up dramatically. And similarly, there's a markup language for blog articles and for your local landing pages. So we'll get to both of those. For your blog pages, since around May 2021, you need to have a blog article written by author, and the author link at the bottom, you probably should point out to an author page. If you have any research you've used, you need to cite all your sources and link out to them. If you wrote Halloween Costumes Guide 2020, and you've updated that page because of its history for 2022, you need to update and timestamp every update, the original and every subsequent update. Your use of H tags and anchor links will determine how many people also ask in quick answer rankings you get. And you also need to check your EAT signals to see whether Google thinks you're credible. EAT is fairly straightforward. This has been part of Google's guidelines since the 90s, and they have increased how much they care about this. They're checking your Yelp reviews, your Google shopping reviews, your BBB, and your Amazon to see if you're credible. And if you are, that boosts your blog signals. Finally, if you have bricks and mortar locations, then when someone searches for your category, Google is going to serve 3 results, a local 3-pack. You basically need as good of a listing as possible to squeeze in. So here's some tips. First, make sure that your landing page for your local listing and your Google My Business have NAP consistency: name, address, phone number. Make sure you use local schema markup, which I'll show you in a second. In the content for the page, use city, town, boroughs, zip codes, and make sure you connect that page to your Google My Business. Local markup. Here's really good markup. So using the language of HTML markup, Best Buy tells Google that we're an electronics store, store type, what our logo is, what our phone number and email, what our hours are, a description of our business, as well as not just our address, but our geo coordinates for a map. Perfectly done HTML markup for a location page. If you're going to optimize your Google My Business, write content, maximize your 750 keywords or characters. Do not leave any fields blank. Make sure your landing page and GMB are coordinated, connected, that your name, address, and phone are consistent. If you don't want people to come to your location, but you serve them, use coverage area optimization. Make sure you choose categories that match the keywords that you try to rank for your website. And do some curation of reviews. So your best reviews are the ones that are shown in your GMB. So recap. You want markup for your collections pages and product pages. On your blog pages, do authorship markup, timestamps, H tags, etc. And for your local pages, coordinate your Google My Business and NAP. With that, I'm going to just make a quick offer. Obviously, we covered a lot of SEO auditing tactics. We do offer that for free as part of kind of a partnership plan, a growth plan. Growth plan is you come to us and say, you guys have been doing this for 25 years. You have holistic marketing, lots of technology, lots of insights. Tell us what you do. and we start our process. First, we just have a candid conversation to make sure your business is the type of business we serve, your needs are the type of needs we can fix. If that's a yes, then you meet with myself or my colleague Liam, and we start to ask a lot of questions about your competitors, your history, your ecosystem. And we spend a lot of time putting together a plan. And that plan gets delivered to you, and we cover why we believe in your business, what you're supposed to highlight more, what your competitors are up to in Google Ads, SEO. We try to figure out how much you should invest in things like awareness, consideration, conversion, repeat purchases, advocacy. We figure out what's happening when people are searching for your brand, for your competitors, for discovery. All the 15 ways we talked about today are usually analyzed in the SEO portion of our growth plan, if they're applicable to you. We figure out how to use consumer behavior to increase conversion rates. And we scrape how your competitors are using Facebook and email and how you can get better repeat purchases. And then we share our summary. You know, what team do we want to put on to your account? What's it going to cost? What are the channels? What is your reporting going to look like? And if we need deeper analyses, we'll add that as a fourth step. Like you have enough Google Ads or Amazon spend or Facebook, we'll pull in someone from that team and do another meeting to dive in deeper. So offering this to everyone. Would you like a free growth plan? And say yes. Yes, plus I want an SEO analysis. Maybe I just need more info. Maybe timing's not right. And yeah, please let us know if it's not a fit with your business. You just answer no. I'm going to keep that up as I check what questions are out there. But Rachel, you say when you say content, are you talking about blog posts or the way product descriptions are written, or both? Both, plus the most important is your category pages. So content written for the pages that are in your top navigation. The pages in your top navigation have the most crawl authority. They can rank for the keywords that are most expensive to pay for in Google Ads. Writing content for those collections pages is the most important profit center when it comes to SEO. So far, that's the only question I've gotten. Anyone else have any questions that they want to ask? We can stay on for about 10 more minutes. You're welcome, Rachel. All right, folks, I'm going to give everyone time to ask any questions in case anyone is typing out a thoughtful question. And if not, my question to you, was this helpful? Oh, what proportion of ad budget should be spent on SEO versus PPC? It's a really good question. It is different based on how much credit you already have from SEO, in my opinion. So if we look at your SEO and you rank for, let's say, at least 2,000 keywords on the map with Google, and your relevance differential, the number of those keywords that are on page one, are 10% or less, then you should be investing at least $3,000 to $5,000 per month in SEO. What's interesting is that might suffice to drive as much growth from SEO has a $100,000 per month Google Ads budget. So SEO can be a drop when it comes to investment, but be really important. Thank you for that question, Greg. Margot, are you sending a replay of this webinar? Yes. We're going to send a PDF copy and a recording. Greg says, website has been live since '99, had very high ranking, but now it's diminishing. You know, these updates that come through, if you don't stay on top of them, the amount of attrition that happens in that gentle slope is pretty great. But Greg, what we saw with your website were two periods where you went from 2,000 to 1,500, 1,500 to 1,000. I actually think that those were potentially errors in template optimization, replatforming, or content strategy. So it'd be interesting to look at that, not just from the lens of attrition over time in the face of competition and Google's changes, but errors that caused a precipitous drop. You've got to look at it from both sides for sure. Can you recoup poor organic rankings? Oh man, that's the whole point of this presentation. Yes, you can always go back to your old rankings. Yeah. Yes. Whatever your peak was, get back to it. That's the fun of it. Errors are recoverable. Yeah. Errors are recoverable because they still live there, causing the same frustration to Google. Until you take that thorn out of Google's side, you're the thorn in Google's side. Brenda said, really interesting, very helpful. Are you exclusively for e-commerce? I also tell Liam that Brenda says hi. No, we're not exclusively for e-commerce. We do have a lot of lead gen clients, a lot of clients that are in retail, but they have wholesale accounts. But we really do dominate e-commerce. There's no e-commerce SEO agency, really, except us. When it comes to e-commerce, Google Ads, we're the largest ad spend managers on the East Coast. So I'd say we've clearly developed a pretty strong pocket in e-com. Anything new and scary on the horizon for Google? I'm going to interpret that broadly. Yes, by July, Google Ads, all your smart shopping campaigns are going to evaporate. They're going to evaporate and turn into Performance Max, which is a totally different ad type. But if you don't start creating your Performance Max campaigns now and slowly transition, you're going to wake up with a headache. Your business is going to wake up with a headache. Performance Max campaigns can be up to 100 different campaigns. They incorporate a lot more ad types, audience strategy, totally different from smart shopping. And you're just supposed to know that Google has been warning everyone. Can a legacy e-com biz fight well-funded direct-to-consumer sites? I assume what you're saying is you're a reseller of multiple brands. Can you still be viable? The answer is yes. You just have to play to your niche. You've got product selection. You have repeat purchase potential. You have authority and teaching that you can do for your niche to become the go-to. You can celebrate the lifestyle or the niche, or let's even say the occupation that you serve through Facebook and email, and start to build a community around it. You have to change your playbook. Folks, if I haven't seen any more questions, I hope this was helpful. And I look forward to meeting with so many of you. Yeah, have a nice week, guys. Enjoy post-summer solstice. And we'll talk soon. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it, folks. Bye, everyone. Take care. Happy Wednesday.